Have you ever heard of a tiny country sitting right next to Indonesia, one that is officially the youngest nation on Earth, yet carries a history written in blood, breathtaking, untouched landscapes, and mysteries that still leave scientists scratching their heads? This place is Timor-Leste, a nation about the size of Connecticut and with a population smaller than many districts in Europe. But here's the twist. Despite being so compact, it sits inside the Coral Triangle, often called the Amazon of the ocean, where the sea is alive with colors and creatures found nowhere else. What makes people so curious about Timor-Leste isn't just its postcard-perfect beaches or rugged mountains. It's the strange paradox of a country that is poor in wealth but rich in natural treasures, where ancient ancestor worship exists right beside Catholic cathedrals, and where daily life feels peaceful yet has been scarred by decades of conflict. So why does the world still overlook this little gem? And what makes it so irresistible to the few travelers who set foot here? Stick around, because the deeper we dive, the stranger and more fascinating Timor-Leste becomes. Number 1. The youngest country on Earth. Imagine a nation so young that it is barely older than a college student. Timor-Leste officially became independent in the year 2002, which means this country has not even celebrated its 25th birthday yet. In the grand story of world history, that makes it practically a newborn. But to understand how this nation came to be, we need to rewind a few centuries. Back in the 16th century, Portuguese explorers landed on the island not looking for land, but for something far more fragrant: sandalwood. At the time, this wood was worth more than gold in Europe and Asia, used in temples, royal courts, and sacred rituals. And so, the Portuguese stayed, bringing their soldiers, their merchants, their churches, and eventually their faith. Today, over 97% of Timorese people identify as Catholic, making this the most Catholic country in all of Southeast Asia. Fast forward to the year 1974. Portugal gave up its colonies after a revolution at home, and Timor-Leste immediately declared independence. But freedom was short-lived. Just 9 days later, Indonesia invaded. For more than 2 decades, the Timorese people endured conflict, hunger, and repression. Historians estimate that between 100,000 and 200,000 people died during those years, a staggering number for such a small population. The world did not stay silent. International pressure, especially from Portugal, pushed for a referendum in 1999. The result? Nearly 80% of the people voted in favor of independence. And finally, on May 20th, 2002, Timor-Leste was reborn as the youngest sovereign nation on Earth. When I think about this story, I cannot help but wonder, does youth make a country fragile, or does it give it the chance to start fresh, free from the heavy baggage of centuries-old mistakes that older nations still carry? Number 2. Society, women, and traditions. Now, let's step away from history books and look at the daily rhythm of life in Timor-Leste. Picture this. In many villages, the sound of a rooster's crow is more than just a morning alarm. It can actually decide the value of a bride. Yes, you heard that right. In traditional weddings, the groom's family is expected to bring animals like pigs, buffalo, and especially roosters. The bigger and louder the rooster, the more respect it shows toward the bride's family. It's a custom that feels part festive, part mystical, and entirely unique to this corner of the world. But behind these colorful traditions lies a tougher truth. More than 20% of Timorese women are married before the age of 18, often in arrangements made by their parents. For many families, marrying off a daughter early is seen as a way to reduce financial pressure or secure alliances between households. Girls grow up learning to cook, farm, and raise children long before they finish school. Some even hear sayings like, "To keep a husband, a woman must know how to brew palm wine well." It's a reminder that traditional gender roles still weigh heavily here. And yet, this is only half the story. The women of Timor-Leste are not just passive figures bound by custom, they are breaking barriers. Today, women hold nearly 38% of the seats in parliament, one of the highest ratios in all of Asia. Younger women, many fluent in Tidam, Portuguese, Indonesian, and English, are taking control of their own lives. Some even turn to social media or dating apps like Tinder to find love on their own terms. At the same time, the spiritual life of Timor-Leste remains deeply fascinating. Alongside Catholicism runs an ancient belief system called Lulik. Villages still maintain sacred houses known as Uma Lulik towering wooden structures built without a single nail, standing like arrows pointed at the heavens. Inside, rituals are performed to honor ancestors, asking for good weather, abundant harvests, and protection from misfortune. It's a living example of how modern faith and ancestral traditions intertwine, giving the country a cultural depth that feels both timeless and evolving. When I see this blend of old customs and new confidence, I cannot help but ask, is Timor-Leste showing us that tradition and progress don't always have to fight, but can actually dance together in surprising harmony? Number 3. Nature and adventure tourism. If you are the kind of traveler who dreams about untouched beaches and oceans alive with color, Timor-Leste might just feel like stepping into another world. Take Ataro Island, for example. Located only about 15 miles north of the capital, this little paradise is home to an astonishing 643 species of reef fish, the highest number ever recorded anywhere on Earth. Scientists believe some of these fish had never even been documented before. Imagine slipping beneath the surface with just a snorkel and finding yourself in the middle of what feels like a living rainbow. And it doesn't stop there. Whales and dolphins regularly pass by these waters on their long migrations. On a calm, sunny day, you might spot a whale spouting water into the sky, or see dolphins leaping in graceful arcs, as if putting on a private show just for you. For divers, the eastern coast of Timor-Leste is like a hidden playground. Crystal clear visibility, coral gardens bursting with life, and encounters with hammerhead sharks, sea turtles, and stingrays. The sea here is so clear that you can see the ocean floor, as if you were peering through glass. But the adventure doesn't end with the water. On land, Mount Ramelau, also called Tatamailau, towers nearly 10,000 feet above sea level, making it the highest point in the country. Hiking to the summit is no easy feat, but the reward is unforgettable. Sweeping views of the island and a serene statue of the Virgin Mary watching over the valleys below. Each March, locals even organize a pilgrimage to the mountain, blending faith with nature in a uniquely Timorese way. If you prefer a lighter adventure, you can rent a bike in the highlands for about $70 a day and cruise through winding mountain paths, past coffee plantations and tiny villages, or try something more relaxing, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, or surfing along the calm waters near Dili. Imagine paddling quietly along the coast while the sun sinks into the horizon, painting the sea in shades of gold and crimson. Standing on these untouched shores, I wonder, is Timor-Leste's greatest treasure not its oil or gas, but the fact that its nature has been left alone long enough to remain pure, unspoiled, and breathtaking? Number 4. Economy and daily life. Rich but still poor. Here's a paradox that will make you pause. Timor-Leste sits on waters rich with oil and gas, sells organic coffee to global giants like Starbucks, and yet nearly 40% of its people still live below the poverty line. How can a country blessed with so much still struggle with so little? The answer lies in dependence. Roughly 80% of the national income comes from oil and gas. When global prices rise, the government coffers swell. But when they drop, the entire economy stumbles like a tightrope walker losing balance. Outside of energy, coffee is the second major export. Grown in the cool mountain regions, Timorese beans are prized for their clean, earthy flavor. But coffee alone cannot carry a nation forward. Daily life reflects this fragile balance. In many villages, electricity is patchy at best. Owning a television is a luxury, so families often gather at the one house with power to watch a soccer match, sometimes even paying a small fee, just a few cents, for the shared experience. Along the coast, fishermen head out at dawn, spend half an hour pulling in their catch, earn $10 or $15, and then relax for the rest of the day. The rhythm of life here is slow, almost deliberately unhurried, like the tide itself. And yet, the government has put in place surprising social safety nets. Healthcare and public schooling are free. Every citizen over 60 receives a monthly allowance of $60, while the unemployed receive $90. Students are required to study not 1, not 2, but 4 languages: Tidam, Portuguese, Indonesian, and English, ensuring that the next generation will be more connected to the wider world. But here's another twist. Even though Timor-Leste is one of the poorest countries in Asia, the cost of living, especially in the capital Dili, can rival that of mid-sized cities in Europe. A one-bedroom apartment can cost between $500 and $1,200 a month. Imported goods like milk or cheese are 2 or 3 times the local price. though a simple local meal may cost only $3 to $5. It's a place where money stretches and snaps at the same time, depending on how you choose to live. When I think about this contrast, poverty alongside generous social policies, local meals that cost pennies next to imported groceries priced like luxuries, I wonder, is wealth really measured in income or in the way a community learns to adapt and share what little it has? Number 5. Capital, culture, and quirky transportation. Step into Dili, the capital of Timor-Leste, and you'll immediately sense a city that feels more like a small town dressed in colonial nostalgia. With a population of just about 200,000, Dili is the smallest capital in Southeast Asia, but it carries a surprisingly rich character. Walk its streets, and you'll find pastel-colored Portuguese buildings with wrought iron balconies, old churches scattered across neighborhoods, and markets buzzing with daily life. One cultural jewel stands out: the Tace Market. Tace is a hand-woven fabric that comes in bold reds, oranges, indigos, and yellows, decorated with ancestral symbols and geometric patterns. Each piece is unique, no two are ever the same. In 2021, UNESCO recognized Tace as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Holding one in your hands feels less like buying cloth and more like carrying a story woven by generations. And then there's the giant Cristo Rey statue, a towering 27 meters of Jesus Christ, perched on a hill at the edge of Dili Bay. To reach it, you climb 574 steps, each one reminding you that spiritual views sometimes demand a little sweat. But at the top, the panorama of turquoise sea and mountains stretching endlessly makes every step worthwhile. Now, let's talk about getting around. Forget orderly subways or Uber rides. In Timor-Leste, transportation is a whole adventure by itself. Motorbikes dominate the roads, often carrying not just one rider but an entire family, groceries, and sometimes even a goat balanced on the back. Locals have also invented motodaps, motorcycles fitted with baskets or platforms to haul everything from coconuts to chickens. Public transport comes in two colorful forms: bemos and microlets. Bemos are small minibuses that pick up and drop off passengers wherever they please. No schedules, no fixed stops, just a lively game of hop on, hop off. Microlets, on the other hand, are like rolling discos, painted in bright colors, decorated with stickers, flashing lights, and blasting pop music. Every ride feels like you've stumbled into a mobile party. Imagine commuting to work while surrounded by pulsing beats and neon lights. Transport here is never boring. As I watch these buses rattle down the streets, I wonder, are we the ones who have overcomplicated city life with rigid systems? While Timor-Leste reminds us that sometimes the journey itself can be the most joyful destination. Number 6. Ancient mysteries and archaeological surprises. Just when you think Timor-Leste is simply a young nation, it throws you a curveball. It is also one of the oldest inhabited places in Southeast Asia. Archaeologists have found evidence that humans lived here at least 42,000 years ago. That makes Timor-Leste not a newborn, but more like an ancient soul wearing a modern identity card. Take Lanai Hara Cave, for example. Inside, researchers discovered what is believed to be the world's oldest fishhook, proving that people here were already skilled enough to fish in the open sea tens of thousands of years ago. The cave walls are etched with faces carved around 10,000 years ago and painted artwork dating back 6,000 years, like silent messages left by ancestors. Standing in that dim cave, it's hard not to feel a chill, like the past is still watching you. And then comes the part that sounds almost like science fiction: giant rats. Fossils unearthed in Timor-Leste reveal rodents as big as small dogs, some weighing up to 5 kilograms. Imagine sitting by a campfire only to see a super rat the size of a beagle scurry by. Even more astonishing, scientists believe some of these oversized species may have survived until just 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. Locals even used them as a food source, breaking bones to roast the meat. But here's the kicker: some researchers suspect one or more of these giant rats might still be alive, hiding in the unexplored forests of the island. If true, it would be one of the biggest zoological discoveries of the 21st century. Picture Indiana Jones, but instead of golden idols, he's chasing a rat the size of a terrier. When I think about these caves, carvings, and fossils, I cannot help but wonder how much of human history is still buried under our feet, waiting for us to rediscover. And more importantly, will Timor-Leste be the place that forces us to rewrite the story of what we thought we knew? Number 7. travel tips, and final wrap up. After all the stories of war, tradition, and giant rats, you might be wondering what's it actually like to travel here today. The truth is, visiting Timor-Leste is both simple and tricky at the same time. Let's start with the basics. The official currency is the United States dollar, so you don't have to wrestle with confusing exchange rates. But cash is king outside the capital, Dili. Credit cards and ATMs are about as rare as those mythical giant rats. If you want to buy fruit in a rural market or pay for a ride on a microlet, you'll need small bills in hand. Visas are straightforward. Citizens of the Schengen area can enter visa-free for up to 90 days, but most other travelers, including from the United States and Southeast Asia, will need to purchase a visa on arrival at Dili Airport. It costs about $30, and you'll need the usual paperwork: a valid passport, a return ticket, and proof of funds. Simple enough if you plan ahead. Now, timing is everything. Timor-Leste has two distinct seasons: the dry season from May through November, and the wet season from December through April. Visit in the dry season, and you'll enjoy sunny skies perfect for hiking, diving, and road trips. Come during the rains, and you'll find flooded paths, muddy roads, and the kind of adventure only the bravest travelers can laugh about later. Connectivity is another reality check. In Dili, you'll find Wi-Fi in hotels and a few cafes, but once you leave the city, prepare to disconnect. Buying a local SIM card at the airport will help, but even then, coverage can be patchy. And maybe that's the real charm. Timor-Leste forces you to put the phone down and actually look around. So here's the final thought. Timor-Leste is not your average vacation spot. It is a country where contrasts live side by side: rich seas but poor villages, deep faith but strong superstition, a young nation with an ancient soul. And maybe that's why it feels so unforgettable. Would you dare to visit a place that is still writing its own story? A place that might challenge everything you thought you knew about travel in Asia? If your answer is yes, hit that like button. Drop a comment with the word 1 and let me know if Timor-Leste has officially made it onto your bucket list. If you're still not sure, type 0, and I'll keep trying to convince you in the next adventure. Because the journey doesn't end here, our next stop might just surprise you even more.